Tigers baseball on Fox Sports Detroit is presented by
Bell Tire.
The Tigers pitching staff has put together 4 outstanding starts in a row. And tonight at Comerica Park, Shane Green hopes to get his season jump-started with a good one of his own. It is game 2 in this series featuring the Detroit Tigers and the visiting Chicago Cubs. Hi again, everyone. Welcome to Tigers Baseball. Mario and Pember, Ron Allen, glad to have you with us here for game 2 in the series. Good start to the series last night. Rod, Tigers scoring a shutout win, and again, they pitched really well in the ball game. That's 4 in a row for this staff now, and things are looking good as far as the starters are concerned.
Well, it started on Friday night. Kyle Ryan got the ball for the Tigers in Chicago. He did not get a win in that game. As a matter of fact, the Tigers lost that game, but he pitched well that day. David Price followed up with a very good outing. Alfredo Simon, he pitched a very good game, as did Anibal Sanchez. Now, as you mentioned, it is Shane Green's turn, and with these starters starting to pitch as well as they have lately, he's been able to calm that bullpen down.
Yeah, that's great. Now, the pitching has been good. The offense, well, it's starting to wake up as well. That's great. But how about the defense? Sometimes it goes unnoticed.
Well, the pitching took some time off this year. The offense, they took some time off as well. But the offense and the defense has been stellar all season long. They've made outstanding plays, and they did it in last night's game. Rajay Davis, this was the play of the game, and it happened very early, taking a home run away from David Ross. And then you have Cespedes. He has 6 assists now from the outfield, 41 since 2012. And then you got Iglesias doing his thing along with Ian Kinsler. Ghost in center field has made nice plays. Miggy, Kinsler, you name it. Everybody on the defensive side has made some outstanding plays all season long. This is the most athletic team they've had from a defensive standpoint, and they're the best in the American League right now.
Why would you run on Yoenis Cespedes? I have no idea. Teams are starting to learn that, though. After a short break, we'll send you back to the Call Sam Studios. Check in with Trevor Thompson. Coming up with this one tonight, Ian Kinsler getting hot again. 5-game hit streak for the Tigers second baseman. Tigers-Cubs, game 2 next.
Off tonight for the Cubs. Their starting lineup presented by the Metro Detroit Chevy dealers. And for the Cubs, it'll be Fowler, Rizzo, and Bryant in the top 3 spots. Montero cleaning up again tonight, but he's catching. Coughlin in left, Castro, the shortstop, Baxter, Denorfia, and Russell. Your bottom 3 facing Shane Green, presented tonight by Family Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
And Shane Green making his 13th start this year for the Tigers. He checks in with 4 wins, 4 losses. The ERA is over 5. He hasn't won a game in a while. He needs to make sure he limits the damage early against him.
So here we go. The first one missing outside to Dexter Fowler. .244 batting average, 1 for 4 in last night's game. Here's the 1-0 pitch. And Fowler looks at ball 2.
And Dexter Fowler has 3 bunt base hits this year. Therefore, Castellanos down at third base playing on the grass.
11 stolen bases as well for Fowler. He'll drive one to the gap in right center field. There's nobody there. That thing is going to go all the way to the wall.
That's a triple.
Fowler is on his way to second. He'll take the turn. There goes the helmet. He is on his way to third, and he is in with a stand-up triple to start this one tonight.
Left-handers have absolutely clobbered Shane Green this year to the tune of a .326 batting average. Right-handers only .219. He needs to make sure he gets the ball down in the strike zone. Even Dexter Fowler finds a gap in right center field.
So the Cubs, who were shut out in last night's ball game, quickly with a scoring chance here tonight. 4th triple of the year for Dexter Fowler. That'll bring up Anthony Rizzo now with nobody out.
Rizzo swings early and he swings often, and he does a lot of damage.
We'll look at strike 1. Rizzo last night had his 12-game hitting streak come to an end. He was 0 for 3, did have a base on balls in the game. They have him played to pull. The shift is on defensively. Shadows covering most of the infield tonight. Rizzo sends a ground ball to first on the backhand. Cabrera checks the runner. 1 out. So Rizzo unable to score it. It'll bring up Chris Bryant. Bryant last night 1 for 3, batting .282. 7 home runs so far in his rookie campaign. Tigers defense now will pull the infield in. Green trying to pitch around the leadoff triple by Fowler.
Miguel at first base, about 20 feet off the first baseline, because Bryant is a dead pull hitter.
No balls, 1 strike.
If you're Green, you must get the ball down against guys like Rizzo, guys like Bryant. That's a dangerous pitch that he got away with.
Modest 5-game hitting streak for Bryant, who also had a walk with a base hit last night.
He will chase breaking balls down and away once you get ahead of him. Quite a few strikeouts already this year for the youngster Bryant.
It'll back him out of there. 1 ball, 1 strike. Well, his on-base percentage .392, so that's near .400. It's just been a really good start for one of the top prospects in the game.
When he puts the ball in play, he does major damage.
Here's the 1-1. Bryant sends a ground ball foul down the first base line.
One more slider. This one probably a little bit further outside, and you don't want to bounce it. You don't want to put that kind of pressure on McCann, but a slider will get you swing and miss.
Bryant was the National League Rookie of the Month for the month of May. Knocked in 22 runs last month. He's got the drawn-in infield here following the triple by Dexter Fowler. He's standing at third with 1 out. Here's the 1-2. There's that breaking ball, but he missed low and away. 2-2. Miguel Montero waiting on deck. Bryant 34 RBIs this year. Didn't get to the big leagues until April 17th. Swing and a miss. Down he goes. 2 gone.
It's a nice job here by McCann. Real nice leadership. Back-to-back breaking balls. He laid off the first one, but he could not lay off the last one. And that is a much better pitch for Green. Located beautifully down and away from the dangerous right-handed batter, Chris Bryant.
So now Green has a chance to leave that runner stalled at third base. Here's Montero with 2 outs. And they'll play him around to the right side, leaving the entire, pretty much left side of the infield open. Montero shoots one right back up the middle, but right there is Iglesias. And nothing comes of the leadoff triple. No runs, 1 hit, 1 left. Here come the Tigers in the bottom of the first. For the Tigers, their lineup tonight presented by the Southeast Michigan Ford dealers, Ghost, Kinsler, and Miguel Cabrera. He's had safely in 13 straight home games. Cespedes cleaning up. J.D. Martinez at right. Tyler Collins, the DH tonight. Castellanos, McCann, and Jose Iglesias rounding out the lineup. They will face the right-handed offerings of Jake Arrieta.
A high 3/4 arm slot featured by Jake Arrieta. He's got a fastball that gets up to 97. That's the 4-seamer. He will run that 2-seamer in on the right-hander's hands. Lots of sliders and curveballs to the right-handers. Change-ups to the lefties. Let's take a look at the Chicago Cubs starting defense. It is brought to you by Tim Hortons. Right to left, they've got Denorfia, Fowler, Coughlin. In the infield, third to first, Bryant, Castro, Russell, and Rizzo. And Montero is the catcher.
Still on a gorgeous night for baseball here. The Tigers will take their first swings against Arrieta. And it'll be Anthony Gose who is batting .289 now. Gose is 2 for his last 31.
Outstanding job by Shane Green getting out of that jam with a runner on third. Nobody out.
I don't know what the percentages on that are, but when you can lead off triple and get out of it with nothing happening.
Especially when you're going up against guys like Rizzo and Bryant.
Meanwhile, Ghost trying to get it started now for the home team.
Rajay Davis started in center field last night. Had a great game. Double, triple, and took a home run away from David Ross.
0-2 on Ghost. Wasn't too long ago. In fact, May 27th, Ghost was hitting .338. Trying to get another hot streak started. Here's the 0-2. Anthony, 1 home run this year. He's knocked in 11. Here's Green, who gave up the leadoff triple to Fowler. He immediately got a ground out and a strikeout, and then Montero bounced out, ending the threat. Now Arrieta with the 0-2. A little bit outside. Looks like Arrieta's one of those guys like our own David Price and Kluber and some guys that don't really do a whole lot in terms of a windup.
No, he doesn't. And he's got a plus fastball. He can get all the way up to 97, although he pretty much stays around 92, 93. But that breaking ball that he threw there is his go-to pitch, and that's when he gets a lot of strikeouts on.
One gone. That'll bring up Ian Kinsler. As Kinsler stands in, he certainly has had the Bernstein advantage in his last 5 games, batting .429 compared to his previous 11 games when he was at .071.
And no coincidence, as Kinsler has perked up, the entire offense has perked up. More opportunities for the guys that bat behind Ian.
Two more hits in the ball game last night. Kinsler now has hit safely in 5 in a row.
Arrieta has a really nice, smooth delivery. Then all of a sudden, here comes 95, a little late life on him.
It'll miss the outside corner, 1-1. Arrieta is 29 years old, a native of Farmington, Missouri. He goes 6'4", 225. Really didn't hit his stride until he put a Cubs uniform on. Bender there, and the count goes 1-2.
He's got that slow curveball about 79 to 81. The heater gets up to 97. He's got a real nice slider and a changeup that he uses for the most part to the left-handers. That's a real nice look at that curveball.
Kinsler called out on strikes, didn't like it. But he is out number 2 and strikeout number 2 for Arrieta. In the driver's seat, brought to you by Kia. And it is Miguel Cabrera. Well, he's typically in the driver's seat every night he shows up to the ballpark, but he's got the longest active streak of reaching base. 27 consecutive games. Brandon Bell right behind him at 23 in a row. Miggy last night reached base with 3 hits and a walk. In there for strike 1 on Miguel. .330 batting average. He has hit 12 home runs. That's in the air to shallow right field. Denorfia coming in. And it's going to be an easy 1-2-3 inning for Jake Arrieta. Is brought to you by Comerica Bank. Raise your expectations of what a bank can be when it's time. Come to Comerica. By Chrysler. Come discover great deals during the Chrysler Drive and Discover events. And by Country Fresh Cottage Cheese. Get real. spectacular night here in the Motor City. The Tigers Cubs wrapping up this 2-game series. Tigers won the opener last night, and they will face the Cubs here in the second tonight. Chris Coghlan will start things off. It'll be Coghlan, Castro, and then Baxter. Shane Green works it home. Strike one on Chris Coghlan. A pinch hit single in last night's ball game gets the start out in left field tonight. 7 homers this year for Coghlan. And he looks at ball 1. 1-1.
Can you remember Shane Green wearing the pants up high as he is here tonight? I cannot remember in any of his previous 12 starts pants up high.
I don't think it is. I think he's trying something new here. I don't recall this at all either.
Change the luck a little bit.
Slice towards center field. Going to drop, base hit. Well, baseball players are known to be a little bit superstitious.
You think?
And so maybe, just maybe, the high Sox will help him out tonight. Here's Starlin Castro. High Sox used to be commonplace back in the day. Here's Hal Newhouser. Castro has hit safely in his last 3, batting .269, a couple of hits in last night's ball game.
He's also grounded into 9 double plays. Green will be looking for another one here.
Runner goes at a bouncing ball to short. They'll stay out of the double play. Runner advances to second, 1 out.
We're talking about the Tigers defense before the game today, and here's an example of how well they play. Take a look at Iglesias here. He's on the second base side of second base. He waits until Miguel Montero gets into the batter's box, and then he ever so slightly sees what the pitch is and just kind of inches his way over to the other side of the diamond. And of course, Montero hit the ball right at Iglesias to end that first half inning. It's a nice job by Jose.
And in effect, it stranded the triple. Little things like that, the nuances of the game, that sometimes you just don't notice.
Also, nice job by Joe Madden, the manager of the Chicago Cubs, knowing that Starlin Castro, his shortstop, has hit into a lot of double plays. He put Coghlan on the move on the very first pitch, and it turned out to benefit them. That would have been a double play.
Mike Baxter, the batter. Baxter takes low and away. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Changeup is a must today for Green. We told you left-handers, their batting average is about .330 against him on the season. Right-handers, they don't fare as well. He needs to get more comfortable throwing that changeup. It's a good pitch. He just doesn't throw it enough.
One and 2 on Baxter, who played his college ball at Vandy. In fact, was a teammate of David Price's at Vanderbilt for 1 year.
That is a baseball factory right now, Vanderbilt.
A lot of guys getting to the major leagues.
They had 3 guys drafted in the first round a couple of days ago.
Baxter behind in the count, 1 and 2. Recently called up from their AAA team in Iowa. Now Green ready with the 1-2 pitch. Lifted back out of play.
And while we have a moment, let's set the Tigers defensive alignment. It's presented by Beaumont Health System. McCann behind the plate has thrown out 47% of the would-be base stealers. The league average is just 30%, so he has been tremendous behind the dish all season long.
And McCann has got the majority of the reps with Avila on the disabled list. And that one is going to bounce in.
I brought this up last night, how comfortable Sanchez appeared to be throwing to McCann. In previous start 5 days ago, he wasn't that comfortable in Sanchez. He gave McCann a lot of credit after the game. Said he just put the fingers down. I followed his leadership.
Sanchez awfully good, which was great to see. Got a little help from the bullpen last night to get that final out in the 8th inning. Ball high, and the count goes to 3-2.
if you're Green here, the breaking ball might be the best pitch. If you throw a fastball up there, Baxter, he's going to put it in play somewhere. But if you throw a breaking ball up there, even if you walk him, it's not all bad. You might get the strikeout.
He'll get back out of play as well.
Here's Sanchez last night in case you missed it. This Chicago White Sox team, Chicago Cubs team, they swing early, they swing often. He exploited that weakness. Once he was able to get ahead, he used breaking balls to his advantage. He also had a really good changeup, and he was getting to a really nice balanced position, which allowed him to throw straight downhill all night long.
Tigers won their third straight in the ballgame last night. Here's the 8th pitch in this at bat. And he walked him with it. It'll put 2 men on for the Cubs. First base on balls of the night for Shane Green. Well, we mentioned it's a beautiful night here at the ballpark tonight. The field conditions are presented by Ace Hardware and the Scotts Company. It is 87 at game time with 65% humidity, and the forecast tonight is clear. Just a gorgeous night downtown to take in Tigers baseball. A good crowd on hand here tonight with the Cubs in.
Starting to feel like summer is right around the corner.
Thank goodness. It has been a while. Tigers have really done good work against the Cubs. In fact, since the start of interleague play, they are 14-4 against Chicago.
They've beaten them 10 out of their last 11.
There's a bluff to second, nothing doing there.
This is a different Chicago Cubs team, though. This is a much better team than they've had the last few years under their new manager, Joe Madden. A very talented team.
Cubs have had 6 managers in the last 10 years. Madden becoming number 6. Swing and miss.
They just can't shake that curve, right?
They can't. It's been a while. I mean, if you're a Chicago Cubs fan, it's been a long, long time. In fact, their last postseason appearance was 2008, but they have not won a World Series since 1908.
If anybody can get them to the postseason, Joe Madden can.
Here's the 0-1. 0-2 on Denorfia.
He's got that really nice breaking ball here today, the slider, that he is throwing to the right-handers, but it's also a pitch he should start using to the left-handers. This is a very difficult pitch for lefties, as it is right-handers.
Runner at second is Coughlin. Runner at first is Baxter. 1 out. Foul back at the screen. A couple of early scoring chances for the Cubs. A leadoff triple in the first. They did not score. And now they have 2 men on here in the second. Green trying to break a bad stretch. He's allowed 15 earned runs in his last 3 starts. Now Denorfia given time as Green takes too long. One for 4 in last night's opener for Denorfia. Swing and a foul tip into the glove. Strike 3. Denorfia said that ball hit the ground. Here comes Joe Madden out of the dugout now. And we'll have an argument on whether or not that ball hit the dirt. And Denorfia telling Madden, Joe, I can see the ball.
Madden wants him to get some help.
And that ball hit the dirt. Now Brad Ausmus, I think they called it a foul tip, and Brad Ausmus coming out now to argue.
Yeah, that replay didn't look like he touched it to me.
No, I agree.
And so it is a strikeout.
And that's probably what Ausmus is saying right now.
I don't see contact here. Spin doesn't change. never touched it.
So apparently the home plate umpire Clint Fagan said it was a foul tip. Hunter Wendelstead, the first base umpire tonight, is the crew chief.
Did Clint Fagan call it a foul ball, or did Hunter Wendelstead call it a foul ball?
I think Hunter did. I think he got some help from Hunter. And so Denorfia is still kicking. They're going to rule that a foul tip. It sounded like it hit something, whether or not that was just the dirt and then the glove, or whether it was the bat, but it certainly didn't appear on the replay that it changed directions, even in the slightest. So it's still 0-2 on Chris Denorfia. That's a foul ball. 2 on, 1 out. We're in the second. Cubs batting. Tigers came in 3 over 500 at 31-28. Cubs at 30-26. Has popped up foul back out of play, so the battle continues here with Denorfia.
Last 2 fastballs that Green has thrown to Denorfia, too much play. I mean, the count is 0-2. You may as well elevate a fastball to see if he'll chase that if you don't want to throw him another breaking ball. The last 2 hittable.
Leadoff single by Coughlin. Ground ball advanced him to second, then a walk to Baxter. Green right now is operating against the bottom of the Cubs lineup. Now Green again ready with the 0-2. Ground ball left side. Iglesias ranging left. Goes to second, one. Throw to third. Runners in there standing up. That'll leave runners at first and third. There are 2 gone now. That's going to bring up Addison Russell, number 9 hitter. So Green out away from getting out of this jam. Russell at 242. He was 1 for 4 last night. One of the good young players in this lineup. Former number 1 pick of the Oakland Athletics. The Cubs gave up Jeff Samardzija in that deal. Russell swings and misses 0-1. Russell is only 21 years of age and is considered to have a really bright future. Started the year at AAA, was batting .318 at Iowa, then was called up. They got him playing second base, although he's a natural shortstop. Here's the 0-1. Now Green is ahead 0-2. Early stress here for Shane Green. Pitched out of it in the first, trying to do it again here in the second. Denorfia chased back to first base. Shane came in tonight with an interleague ERA of 0.93. Those are numbers with both the Yankees and the Tigers. He was acquired from the Yanks in the offseason. And he wouldn't chase as Russell laid off. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Here are some of the particulars in interleague play. In fact, opponents have hit just 167 against him. 2-0 record, a sub-1 ERA against the National League. Russell waits on the 1-2. Right back up the middle into center field. It's a 2-out hit for Addison Russell. That'll score a run, and the Cubs lead 1-0. Their first run of the series.
Addison Russell waited on the breaking ball that appeared to be a couple of inches off the plate, like he knew it was coming. He hit it right off the end of the bat, but he found some grass in the outfield for an RBI.
So Shane Green gives up the 2-out run. Now back to the top of the lineup, Dexter Fowler. Coughlin scored on the play. Fowler tripled to start the ball game, but did not score. Way inside, 1 ball, no strikes. Fowler came into this game batting just .227 against right-handed pitching. Broke in with the Rockies, 6 years with the Colorado Rockies. Here's the 1-0. Playing Fowler to pull. Room to the left side of the infield. Denorfia at second base. Russell at first. Cubs have a 1-0 lead. They put up 3 hits on the board. Here's the 1-1. 2 balls, 1 strike on Fowler. Green started the year with 3 really good starts. In fact, his ERA after 3 starts was under 1. Then he had the next 3 that were not so good. It's kind of been an up and down season so far for Green.
It's been a while since he's won a game.
Ripped to right field, foul.
That fastball at 91 right down in the happy zone of the left-handed batting Fowler.
Shane's last win was on May 15th in St. Louis. Since then, 3 losses and a no decision. Two and 2 on Fowler. Missed it high and away, 3 and 2. So with 2 outs, the Cubs get the advantage here, starting the runners. McCann reminding everybody of that. Waiting on deck is Rizzo. And the 3-2. Grounded foul, first base side. Fowler has hit safely in his last 6, courtesy of his triple in the first inning. Trying to extend the 1-0 lead here in the second. Swing and a miss. He struck him out. Shane Green comes back to limit the damage. Did just 1 run on the RBI hit by Addison Russell. The Fox Sports Detroit Tigers player of the game, presented by McDonald's Big Mac and 10-piece McNuggets. Early lead for the Cubs here this evening as we go to the bottom of the second at Comerica Park. It'll be Yoenis Cespedes, J.D. Martinez, Tyler Collins facing Jake Arrieta, who had himself a 1-2-3 first inning, including 2 strikeouts. Arrieta goes back to work facing Cespedes. Yoenis has hit safely in his last 4. He was 1 for 3 in last night's ball game.
Just about every fastball that Arrieta has thrown here tonight has been 95 miles an hour and above. Looks like it's going to be one of those nights.
Here's another one at 95, 2-0. Arrieta wanted to know where that one was. Arrieta, originally property of the Orioles. He was drafted by Baltimore. Then he missed outside, 3-0. It's Cespedes, Martinez, and Collins. Tigers down by a run. Here's the 3-0 pitch. And he lost him on 4 straight. Leadoff man out for the Tigers. They catch 4 games at Comerica Park for as low as $73 with the new Detroit Tigers 4-packs. Choose 4 bobblehead giveaways, 4 fireworks nights, or 4 weekday matinee games. Call 313-471-2255 or visit tigers.com.
If you're the Tigers and you choose to do so, you could run on this combination of Arrieta and Montero. Cespedes does not have blazing speed at first base, but he does have the ability to steal in the right situation.
J.D. Martinez looks at a strike.
Cespedes is 8 for his last 16, and Arrieta did not throw him 1 strike.
He has put the tying run on here. Martinez has hit safely in his last 5. As they chase Cespedes back. Here's the 0-1. Bouncing ball to short, could be 2. Castro to second 1. Russell's relay is a double play. That one goes 6-4-3. 2 outs in the second. Seen a lot of those this year for the Tigers. Bring up Tyler Collins. DHing tonight for the Tigers. Collins hitting .306. One home run at the big league level this year. Collins had a really good game on Sunday in Chicago. The last game of that series, he was 3 for 3.
Brad bumped him up to the number 5 spot in the batting order, and Collins really responded.
That was against Samardzija, right?
It was.
Yeah, that last game. That's tapped toward first base. That'll be a foul ball. 1 ball, 1 strike on Collins. Tyler made his major league debut last year for the Tigers. A late call up at his first big league home run in Cleveland.
Made the team out of spring training last year, but did not get consistent reps. Therefore, they sent him back down to the minor leagues for some more seasoning.
That'll miss inside. 2 balls, 1 strike.
When Arrieta pitched for the Baltimore Orioles, he was simply just a hard thrower. But since putting on that Cubs uniform, he's really learned how to pitch.
Swing and miss.
Every fastball is not 97 miles an hour. He goes from 92 to 96. A little slider, 89 to 91. He'll cut the fastball as well, and a really nice slow breaking ball. So he really has evolved since putting on that Cubs uniform.
Swing and a miss. Down he goes. Collins was eaten up there. 3 strikeouts for Arrieta. Tigers baseball tonight presented by Bell Tire. Third. Jake Arrieta proving to be a tough customer tonight. In the meantime, Shane Green goes back to work, and he will face Rizzo, Bryant, and Montero, 2, 3, and 4 in the Chicago lineup. And the first one is lined to the opposite side, but foul.
You have to be careful when you go up against Rizzo, and his spray chart or his hot and cold zone will tell you that he really doesn't like the ball down and in. 182 and .91 down and in. Most left-handers love the ball there, but you can see a lot of red everywhere else on his hot zone.
0-2 on Rizzo.
Did you know he's been hit 13 times already this year?
That's a major league high. Why is that? They say he stands on the plate pretty close.
That's exactly it. I mean, he's right on top of the dish, and he does not give an inch. As a matter of fact, when he comes set, his hands are resting comfortably right over home plate. He's inviting you to throw the fastball inside, really.
Ball one. Rizzo having a really good year, 11 homers, 35 RBIs. He's been on base in 16 consecutive games. Had a walk in last night's game, extending that streak. That's pulled foul. 1-2 the count stays.
Now the current front office personnel of Jed Hoyer and Theo Epstein, they are in love with Rizzo. They drafted him in Boston. And then Hoyer went to San Diego. He traded for him. He went to San Diego. Then those two went to Chicago. And now he's in Chicago. So they're infatuated with him.
Absolutely. And they gave up Cashner to get him, who was at the time was a really good young pitcher. But the feeling was that young pitchers have a tendency to get hurt more than young offensive players. But Rizzo is certainly proven to be an outstanding choice. 35 driven in this year.
And they've got him under control until 2021, too. So they're not going to let him get away this time.
2-2 on Anthony Rizzo. Swing and a miss. He went chasing that time. Green gets another strikeout.
And here's what I was talking about. When you take a look at him, you can see his hands resting comfortably right over home plate. And he couldn't catch up to that 93-mile-per-hour two-seam fastball that ran away from him. It's a good pitch by Green. Also notice that Rizzo chokes up a little bit with two strikes.
Not able to make contact there, though. Here's Bryant. It's in there, a strike. Talked about all the good young players, Rizzo and Bryant and Addison Russell and Soler, who is hurt. Here's the 0-1. That hit him. Speaking of hit by pitch, this time it's Bryant. So the Cubs have a one-out runner. There is the ratio on Green after 50 pitches. Now, Javier Baez is another good young player, but he's on the disabled list right now. And here's a list of, well, we'll call them the crushing Cubbies. Well, ages.
It's one of the reasons why Joe Madden jumped at the opportunity to leave Tampa, although he didn't know he was going to get the Cubs job. But when it was offered to him, who wouldn't take it?
Bright, bright future. So now Montero. Ball one missing away. Montero bounced out to end the first inning after Fowler had led the inning off with a triple.
You better be careful with Bryant at first base. He's about 6'5". He's not a blazing runner, but he's already stolen 5 bases this year. He's only been caught once. And we've been told that he has outstanding base running instincts.
There he goes. And his line to right field, base hit. Bryant is on his way to third. He'll get in there safely.
Don't know if that was the hit and run or whether that was a straight steal, but it worked to perfection for Chicago Cubs. Second time already tonight that Joe Madden, their manager, has put a runner in motion. It's a breaking ball or a changeup that stays up in the strike zone long enough for Montero to hit it right over the head of Ian Kinsler, and Bryant on the move didn't miss a beat.
First and third with one out, and here is Chris Coghlan. That is the 4th hit of the game now for the Cubs, who are just 1 for 6 with runners in scoring position tonight. Coghlan had a single to start things off in the second. Drilled high and deep into right field, way back, and that ball is gone. Way up into the seats and right. Coughlin hits his 8th home run of the year.
Well, the left-handers continue to clobber. And Shane Green, he just can't figure them out.
A 3-run shot makes it 4-0 Chicago. Boy, that was a no-doubter.
It sounded loud.
Halfway up the seats and right. You're not kidding. That thing echoed through the ballpark. 4-0 Cubs. Starlin Castro, the batter. Ninth home run allowed now by Shane Green. Here's the 1-1 to Castro. That's a foul ball. Starlin bounced out his first time up 0 for 1. Mentioned Javier Baez, one of the young players that the Cubs have, has a finger issue right now that has put him on the disabled list, but they're trying to decide when to bring him up to the big leagues. Castro's been around a while at that shortstop position. In on his hands that time, and Kinsler will come in to make the play. It's the second out of the inning. Then it brings up Mike Baxter. Baxter a walk in his first at bat. Member of the Dodgers last year. Also played with the Mets and San Diego. Here's ball 1, did not go. Baxter, one of those guys that's been a pretty good pinch hitter in his career. He's had that role really wherever he's been since getting to the big leagues in 2010. But here against an American League team serving as the DH.
It's like that backup catcher's job. If you can get one and you can do a very nice job, you can hold on to it for a while. Pinch hitting in the big leagues is not the easiest thing to do.
2-0 is stroked in the air toward left center field. Ghost is on the run, still going back, and that ball is going to carry off the base of the wall, and it's a double with 2 outs for Mike Baxter.
Yeah, coming into tonight, left-handers 326 batting average, 17 extra base hits against Green. You could see the right-handers, they just don't do all that well against him. 219 batting average for the right-handed batters. Most of the damage here tonight has been done by the lefties.
So the Tigers get some activity now. Lefty Kyle Ryan starting to warm it up in the Detroit bullpen. Green has now surrendered 6 hits. 2 of them have been for extra bases in this inning. In fact, he's given up a double, a homer, and a triple in this game. And they have 99 extra base hits on the road this year, which is the most in the majors. Here is Denorfia trying to drive in a 2-out run already. 4-0 in favor of the Cubs. Soft line drive and a shallow center base hit. They'll wave the run around. Ghosts throw to the plate, cut off. Throw back to first is in time. The run scores. Give Denorfia a single and an RBI. Big inning for the Cubs. They extend their lead to 5-0. Comerica Park. Here's our T-Mobile game changer. We're talking about Jake Arrieta in his last half inning of work and around how much better he's been with the Cubs hat on as opposed to an Orioles hat.
He used to be a thrower when he was with the Orioles. He tried to overpower you with that fastball, and he got hit around quite a bit. 5 games under 500, but he's figured it out with the Cubs. 19-11 in 45 starts with the Chicago Cubs, and the ERA 3 runs lower than it was with Baltimore.
Well, he's been pretty good here tonight as well as Nick Castellanos leads it off in the Tigers' third. Strike 1 on Castellanos.
Arrieta has made 11 starts this year, and his offense has only averaged him about 3 runs per game. Today they have 5 for him.
It's Christmas Day for Arrieta. There's a ball inside, 1-1. 5 runs and we're only 3 innings into this game.
When you look at Arrieta and you look at his delivery, it's not hard to see where he gets all his power from. He's got very strong legs. Legs look like Justin Verlander's legs. Just very strong. That's
1-2.
That's where power pitchers get it from.
Nick batting .230. 2 RBIs in last night's game. 2-2 the count. Congratulations, by the way, to Nick and his family, because Ryan, his brother, was drafted today by the Detroit Tigers. The Castellanos is very, very excited about what transpired in the draft today.
I heard Castellanos was up in the war room and he had a chance to call in the pick.
It's pretty cool, huh?
That is cool.
Bouncer right back to the mound. Arrieta, nice play. Nick is out. 1 gone. Here are some of the notable draft picks. You see that Ryan Castellanos, a right-handed pitcher from Nova Southeastern, was selected in the 25th round. Bo Burrows was their #1 pick, a high schooler, a right-hander out of Texas.
They say he throws hard, about 97 miles an hour, Bo Burrows.
And Gibson selected in the 5th round.
Also, congratulations to Nick Plummer.
Yeah.
The kid for Brother Rice. He was drafted in the 1st round by the St. Louis Cardinals. He was here a few weeks ago when we were celebrating a Negro League weekend. He was part of our Pass the Bat ceremony.
There's ball 1 to James McCann.
So he's going to a really good organization, Mr. Plummer.
I was watching some video on Plummer, man. He looks like he's going to be a player. Very well built. Shattered bat, rolled foul.
Get off me, ball.
Right to Dave Clark. There are the remnants of what was or is left of the bat of McCann.
It's a 95-mile-per-hour 2-seam fastball that just ran in on the hands of McCann and shattered his bat. Sure you got them all?
It's probably impossible. I think it was shattered into 1,000 pieces, it seemed.
Vacuum cleaner out there.
1 ball, 1 strike on McCann. Double in the ball game last night. Drops in a breaking ball. And it's 1-2. Arrieta was originally selected by the Orioles in the 5th round out of TCU, the alma mater of Brian Holiday. That was back in 2007. Arrieta's stuff was so good last year, and he won 10 games with an ERA of about 2.5. He carried 3 no-hit bids into the 7th inning last year. Here's the 2-2. Whistle foul. By the way, just a reminder, as you enjoy a cold one, to look forward to Miller Time later in tonight's game, brought to you by Miller Lite. Iglesias on deck. Ooh, that one just missed. Arrieta wanted it, and he's staring in against Clint Fagan, the home plate umpire. That's why. The lower reaches of the strike zone. Full count, 3-2. Only one base runner so far for the Tigers, a walk. Off the end of the bat, foul. And that walk was erased by the Martinez double play. There is the other Martinez, Victor. Good to see him back on the bench. Was taking BP again today for the Tigers.
Also doing some stretching, doing some running around.
Swing and a miss. McCann went fishing. Yikes.
95 after 95 with the fastball, and then he throws an 82-mile-per-hour breaking ball up there with tremendous spin on it. Next 4 days, the Tigers are going to see some really good pitchers, some guys with some good arms. Arrieta here tonight, and then that 3-game series against the Cleveland Indians. All 3 of the guys starting in that series are 95 and above.
Iglesias rolls out to third. That's a 1-2-3 inning for Jake Arrieta. To be done for the evening. Kyle Ryan will come on and pitch in the 4th.
A very short night for Shane Green. Ryan was outstanding on Friday. He got to start in Chicago and pitched into the 7th inning. Did not get the win. Took a no decision in that game. He checks in with a 2.70 ERA. 1 win in the 2 starts.
You know what kind of pitching change this is, don't you, Rob?
It's a wall sign.
Of course. So Ryan set to go to work. As Ryan steps to the mound, it'll be Addison Russell to lead things off for Chicago.
Yeah, Ryan's got a nice 2-seam fastball that moves all over the bottom of the strike zone. He'll cut the fastball as well. He's got a couple of different breaking balls, one a little bit bigger than the other, but they're not considered sliders or curves. They're sort of in between. But he has a different break with that particular pitch. One slower, a little bit harder.
Grounded foul. Kyle is out of Auburndale, Florida, just outside of Lakeland, Florida. 23 years old. The lefty brings it home. And the count is 0-2 on Addison Russell. Kyle did not have good numbers at AAA this year, but boy, he really did well in his last outing. Swing and a miss, and he carves up Russell there, one gone.
And Kyle Ryan is picking up right where he left off in that Chicago start the last Friday night. Everything was moving at the bottom of the strike zone.
It's that game the Tigers eventually lost. Ryan had given up just 2 runs in 7 innings. Lost that one in extra innings.
He was 0-2 on 10 of the White Sox hitters that night that he faced. And 0-2.
1-0 on Fowler. Batting righty against the lefty. Fowler triple and a strikeout. Half swing rolled foul. Cubs let a tremendous scoring opportunity go by the wayside in the first on the leadoff triple by Fowler, but they've since made up for it. 1 run in the second, 4 in the third inning to go up 5-0. 2 balls, 1 strike. Kyle last year made 6 appearances in the major leagues. After winning 10 of the minor leagues, he was 2-0 with a 2.61.
He was told by Jeff Jones and Brad Ausmus when he was sent down to AAA toward the tail end of spring training to tighten up that breaking ball. Start to figure out that breaking ball, because when you come back, you might pitch out of the bullpen, and you'll need that pitch against left-handers. Here's his outing on Friday. He moves the ball around the strike zone, up and down, in and out, change speeds. The White Sox aren't a great hitting team, but he kept them off balance all night long, even the dangerous Jose Abreu. Very impressive with his outing on Friday.
Now the 2-2. 3-2. Here's some of the numbers we were talking about at that start in Chicago. Walked only 1 in 7 innings, gave up 3 hits, a couple of runs. That's in the air toward right field. Moving over is J.D. Martinez. 2 up, 2 down in the 4th. Well, the Indians apparently are coming to town. You can join us again Friday when the Tigers welcome the Indians to Comerica Park. Our coverage begins at 6 p.m. with Tigers Live. Tigers Tribe Friday at 6 on Fox Sports Detroit.
And Jason Kipnis, their second baseman, is playing like an MVP right now, and it's no coincidence that the Indian season kind of turned around when Yan Gomes, their catcher, came off the disabled list. They got one of their leaders back.
It's going to be Price and Salazar in game 1 in that series. That ought to be fun. Here's strike 1 on Anthony Rizzo.
Yeah, there'll be a few strikeouts in that game.
No doubt. Ryan working quickly, the 0-1 pitch.
Tigers are 10-2 this year in David Price's start, so he usually gives them a chance to win.
We expect no different Friday night.
A good 2-seam fastball inside here to Anthony Rizzo. Actually, it's a cut breaking ball off the inside corner. He kills lefties, though. How about that?
Got a .558 on base percentage. The 2-2. Yep, he's done it again. There's a slicing base hit to left. I often wondered what the secret is for left-handed batters who have success against left-handed pitchers.
Well, you saw it right there. And he shortened up his swing and he drove the ball the opposite way. Didn't try to do too much.
This was coming into tonight's game. Iglesias, the best average against lefties. But he is a right-handed batter. Rizzo bats lefty and bats .425 versus lefties.
Yeah, he was the only lefty on that list.
Here's Bryant with 2 outs. That one, by the way, was the 8th hit of the night for the Cubs. Bryant hit by a pitch and then eventually scored on the 3-run homer by Coghlan in the 3rd. Broken bat rolled to third and over the glove of Castellanos into left field. Rizzo will get to second, and a 2-out threat now for the Cubs.
Ball skipped right over the glove of Castellanos.
Two on, two out. Miguel Montero will stand in. It's going to be an E5. Montero had a single in that 4-run third. Now McCann calls time, runs out to the mound. Talking about the Indians, and Trevor Bauer started tonight for the Tribe, gave up a grand slam to Kyle Seager, and so is Seattle 4-0 in the top of the fourth in that one. They're in Cleveland. Here's ball one outside to Miguel Montero.
That Seattle team has really underachieved this year from an offensive standpoint, so you know it's just a matter of time and before they get it going. Seager, Robinson, Cano, those two guys really have not had good years.
Drilled to center field. Ghosts moving back is under it to retire the side. No runs, a hit, an error, 2 men left. To the bottom of the fourth we go. One for the first time as the greatest golfers in the world converge on the Pacific Northwest for a chance to stamp their names in the history books. Our exclusive coverage of the 115th U.S. Open Championship live from Chambers Bay Golf Course begins June 18th on Fox Sports 1, Fox, and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. You play that course all the time, don't you, Ron?
No, I've never played that course, and they showed us a shot of it. They had a lot of trees there. I wouldn't be able to find my ball.
Jake Arrieta goes back to work in the bottom of the fourth.
I'd have to take me a caddy with me playing that track.
It'll be Ghost, Kinsler, and Cabrera. Tigers have had only one walk in this game versus Arrieta. Wave and a miss. Ghost struck out in the first inning. One of 4 punch-outs in this ball game for Arrieta.
Anthony Ghost, his swing has gotten a little long, and that's one of the reasons why he's not performing all that well right now. It needs to shorten up again. Think about hitting line drives and ground balls and utilizing the very good speed that he has.
And that's when he was at his absolute best in April and early May, spraying the ball to all parts of the field. He also has 8 steals this year.
It's been stellar defensively.
2-2.
Now on this next swing, we should see a visible change in Ghost. The first 2 swings were very big swings. Now with 2 strikes and a guy that has this kind of speed, you have to do whatever you can possibly do just to put the ball in play.
Breaking ball dives in, 3-2. Here's the 3-2. Swing and a miss. Struck him out. It'll be 5 strikeouts now for Jake Arrieta.
That's a breaking ball. It's a slider that runs in on the hands of Ghost, and Ghost swings right over the top of it.
That'll bring up Ian Kinsler. He also struck out in the first. That's in for a strike, 0-1. One ball, 1 strike. Part of the reason for success for Arrieta recently is also the fact he hadn't walked too many. He does have 1 tonight, but that was erased on a double play. He had only 3 walks in his previous 26 innings coming into the start. Here's the 1-1. Drilled to left field. That's down. A base hit. Kinsler taking the turn. He's going to stop there with a 1-out single.
It is one of the few mistakes that Arrieta's made here this evening. It's a breaking ball at about 92 miles an hour up in the strike zone, and Ian Kinsler able to get out in front of it. Nice job by the left fielder Coughlin to get over and to keep Kinsler to a single.
It looked like that had a chance for a double. So here's Cabrera. That is the first hit tonight for the Tigers. I think he flied out to right field his first time up. Bouncing ball to third. Bryant goes to second. One. Russell's relay is another double play. 5-4-3, the second one hit into tonight by the Tigers. Firm, official legal services sponsor of Fox Sports Detroit. Bell Tire, get the lowest tire price, period. Bell Tire. Myers, save big with M-Perks from Myers. Sign up at mperks.com. And by Chevrolet, find new roads. Kyle Ryan goes back to the hill. He took over for Shane Green in the fourth. The fifth inning about to start. It'll be Chris Coghlan to lead it off. And he's got the big hit tonight. It was a 3-run shot in the third inning. 5-0 in favor of the Cubs as we go to the fifth. Coghlan straightens up on a ball up and in, 1-0. Will be followed by Starlin Castro and then Mike Baxter. Checked it, and he wins as home plate umpire Clint Fagan. Coghlan 2 out of 2 tonight. He also singled to get it started in the second and scored a run. Rough night for Shane Green, who was bounced after 3 innings this evening. Here's the 1-1. It darts outside. 2 balls, 1 strike.
And Coghlan also pinch hit late in last night's game and got himself a base hit.
Yeah, that's right. So he's 3 for his last 3 here. That's a strike on the inside part. Coghlan was the Rookie of the Year in the National League back in 2009 as a member of the Marlins back then. Lifted toward left field, hit pretty good. Cespedes on the move, still going back to the wall to make the catch. Coghlan's had some good swings in this series. 1 gone. That'll bring up Starlin Castro. Ground out pop up for Starlin Castro. Ball 1. Castro has made 3 National League All-Star teams as a member of the Cubs. Back in 2010, he finished 5th in the Rookie of the Year voting in the National League. That year, Buster Posey won it. But Posey's accomplished a lot in a short amount of time. Foul tip into the glove, 1-2.
Posey's won a batting title. He's won 3 championships, an MVP. He's done it all.
Yeah, that Rookie of the Year. Not much more for him to do.
No.
Ryan with the 1-2. Down he goes. 2 gone. Saturday baseball night in America returns to Fox with the American League East showdown. The Yankees square off against the Orioles. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. Eastern on Saturday only on Fox.
Kyle Ryan continues to make quality pitch after quality pitch. It's a really nice breaking ball that tied up Castro for strike 3.
Which, as you explained earlier, is what they wanted him to do, right?
Absolutely.
Breaking ball. Baxter is 1 for 1. He's got a double and he's got a walk and a run score. He'll shoot that one to the air into right center field. Ghost coming over, but he'll play it on 1 hop. So Baxter on base for the 3rd time tonight. 2-out single. Here's Denorfia. Single drove in a run back in the 3rd. Denorfia's had hamstring problems this year, on and off the disabled list. He came off again on Sunday, and since he's put up some pretty good numbers. Batting .438 right now.
Denorfia, one of the veterans on the Chicago Cubs roster. He's 34 years old. Last 5 years he spent in San Diego. So he goes from San Diego to Chicago. A couple of real nice stops on this tour.
Ball one high. I'm kind of partial to Chicago and making trips there and all there is to do in that city, but San Diego's awfully nice.
Yeah, the weather there just seems to be spectacular regardless of the time of year you go there. We went there, what, last year?
We did. Early in the season.
April. Spectacular weather.
The 1-0. 9-year veteran, Chris Denorfia. The Cubs being his 5th different big league organization. Tigers fell behind 1-0 and then gave up 4 in the 3rd, highlighted by the home run by Coghlan. Two and one. Ryan gave up a single. There's also an error in the 4th, but no damage, and now a 2-out single here in the 5th. Two and two.
Good pitch. A change up and a fastball count. It froze Denorfia. He couldn't pull the trigger.
Ball high, run at full now, 3-2. Baxter will be on the run at first base. Addison Russell waiting on deck. Here's the 3-2. Fouled away. Cubs have 9 hits tonight. Tigers have had just 1 against Jake Arrieta. That was the single by Kinsler in the 4th, but Tigers have bounced into 2 double plays. Another ground ball foul, forcing Baxter to retreat. And another foul. Denorfia not going down without a battle here. Trying to get it to Russell. This will be the 9th coming up in this at bat. Drilled to center field. Ghosts will play down one hop, and it gets by. This might get a run in now. Baxter rounding 3rd. They're going to send him home. Throw to the plate. Not in time. An error by Ghosts in center allows another run to score, and now it's 6-0 Cubs.
Anthony Ghosts got caught in no man's land. Initially, he thought he was going to be able to catch this ball. He got too close to it. The ball trickled off of the glove, and that allowed Baxter to come all the way around from first and score.
Single E8. No RBI on that play, and it's 6-0 Chicago. So the Tigers now have committed a couple of errors in this game. And here is Addison Russell. That's rolled foul. Strikeout, RBI single for Russell. His base hit came back in the 2nd with 2 outs. It was a clutch hit for Chicago. Well, the Athletics were going for it all last year. They had gotten off to such a great start, and they traded for Jeff Samardzija from the Cubs. They gave up this young man right here in Addison Russell, who is considered their top prospect each of the last 2 years. Well, he's come to Chicago and very quickly now is in the major leagues. Offensively this year, he's knocked in 16 runs. Chops this one to third. Castellanos backs up. He'll fire a one hopper down to first. That'll end the inning. Another run in though for the Cubs. Tigers baseball tonight, presented by Bell Tire. Bottom of the fifth inning. It'll be Yoenis Cespedes, J.D. Martinez, and Tyler Collins. Tigers have some work to do now, and the problem is they've got work to do against a guy that has been really good. It's Ghost. He's having a little chat now with Wally Joyner. The ball outside to Cespedes, who walked in the second. Yoenis, then Martinez, then Collins. Arrieta has been helped out by a couple of double play balls that he's induced. The 1-0. Cespedes taking all the way. It's a strike. That is the first strike that Arrieta has thrown him tonight.
And if you weren't with us earlier, we told you that just about every fastball that Arrieta's featured today has been about 95 miles an hour, along with that knee buckling breaking ball.
Cespedes is on such a hot streak now. So you look at the 95 plus from Arrieta. He's done it 18 times.
18 of the 49 total pitches thrown.
Here's a 2-1. Cespedes fouls it back 2-2. So Yoenis now is second in the American League with 23 multi-hit games. And really, Rod, since Brad Ausmus made the move to elevate Cespedes in the cleanup spot, he's done pretty good work.
He's a run producer. He thrives on batting right in the middle of the batting order, as he did with the Oakland Athletics and for a couple of years before being traded to the Boston Red Sox.
Bouncing ball, third base side, cut off by Bryant, and he got him by half a step.
And Bryant is bigger than most of your third basemen, but he's got some ability down there at third.
Well, as J.D. Martinez strolls in, we tell you the Tigers conclude their weekend series with the Indians on Sunday, June 14th at 1:08. Sunday Kids Day, and all kids 14 and under receive a free J.D. Martinez poster. If you'd like tickets, call 866-66-TIGER or visit tigers.com.
And the Tigers have only hit 2 balls into the outfield here so far tonight.
Here's another one on the line. That one is going to get down. Fowler goes over to cut it off. And JD thought about it, but he'll head back to first base.
Ask and you shall receive. And JD's at his best when he's driving the ball right back through the center of the diamond. He has enough bat speed and power to hit the ball out to center field. That's a really good play by their center fielder, Dexter Fowler, to cut that ball off.
It almost looked like he was baiting JD Martinez to try and go to second on that play.
We were talking about Dexter Fowler last night, the fact that he is a really good defender in center field.
Here's Tyler Collins. Arrieta struck him out his first time. The Tigers now have only their second hit of the game.
He looks nothing like the Jake Arrieta that I remember when he was pitching for Baltimore.
.10-5 last year, a 2.5 ERA. That is pulled down the right field line. It's going to go foul. 0-2 on Collins. Lefties came in batting just .218 against Arrieta. One on, one out. We're in the fifth. 6-0. The Cubs. Castellanos on deck. And that's pulled into right. Breaking ball that hung up there and is slammed to right field for a base hit. 2 on and 1 out.
In the previous fastball at 91, Collins got out in front of it and hooked it down the right field line. So Arrieta figured he was looking for another fastball. He flipped a breaking ball up there, and Collins was sitting there with 2 strikes and put it in play and got himself a solid base hit in the right field.
Back-to-back singles for the Tigers, and now Castellanos will step in. Nick hit one back to the mound his first time up. Tigers haven't had too many scoring chances. Anytime they've gotten a base runner prior to this, they hit into a double play. Let's see if they can get on the board here in the fifth. Line to center field. That's going to drop, base hit. They're going to hold the runner at third as Fowler comes up with it quickly, and the bases are loaded. 3 straight hits for the Tigers.
And Tigers have made a little bit of an adjustment against Arrieta second time through. They've kind of shortened up their swings on all those mid-90s fastballs, and they barreled him up nicely. And Dave Clark not going to run J.D. Martinez into an out at home plate, not with Fowler in center field.
So here is McCann. Tigers have loaded him up here. McCann 250 this season with runners in scoring position.
Here's where Arrieta likes to go to his breaking stuff with runners in scoring position.
There's one that misses outside. 1-0. McCann struck out in his first at bat. He's got Martinez, Collins, and Castellanos aboard.
And if you're James McCann, you know that he likes to go to the breaking ball in this situation, but you can't look for a breaking ball. You have to be ready for that fastball.
Fly ball in the air. Shallow right field coming to the line. DeNorfia, he'll make the catch and foul ground. Runners will tag but hold. And the bases remain loaded. 2 gone. So we'll see what Iglesias can do with 2 outs. He grounded out his last time up. He's hitting .294 with men in scoring position. Iglesias has been one of the Tigers' hotter hitters. He came in hitting safely in 11 of his last 13. And they need a big hit here. Ball one. So Arrieta now has reached a total of 60. You talk about economical. Got a couple of 11 pitch innings, a 10 pitch inning. In there, a strike. Iglesias watched it all the way into the glove. And he's not so sure it was a strike. Tried to check it, went around, 1-2.
It's 96 inside to Iglesias.
We thought about offering, but he laid off. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Anthony Ghost waiting on deck. The first stressful inning that Arrieta has had in this game. Singles by Martinez, Collins, and Castellanos. That's why Iglesias has been so good this year out of the 9 spot in the lineup. 38 of his hits have come in the 9 spot, which is the most. Addison Russell's on that list as well. He's had a big one tonight. Now the 2-2. Got him. Strike 3. Iglesias is caught looking. The Tigers load the bases and leave them loaded. They threaten but do not score. At Comerica Park, and tonight's game is being broadcast on AFN, the American Forces Network, broadcasting to the U.S. Armed Forces Serving around the world on land and on ships at sea, we welcome you all. It has been all Cubs tonight as Jake Arrieta has kept the Tigers off the board. In the meantime, Kyle Ryan goes back to work. It'll be Fowler, Rizzo, and Bryant. Top of the lineup coming up. Kyle took over in the 4th inning. Has allowed 1 unearned run since coming on. There's a ball outside to Fowler. Dexter in the ball game. Triple strikeout flyout. Two 2-0. Fowler grounds that one foul. Bring that glove to the ballpark and hand off the baseball.
She's like, well, thank you.
Here's the 2-1. 3-1. Fowler, born in Atlanta, lives in Atlanta, Georgia. Dexter last year played in Houston. Pulls that one in the air toward left center field. Ghosts. Basket catch as he runs it down in the alley. 1 out, game break time. Here's Mickey York. I'm going to pass on that, Mick, but thanks.
They don't need any more help, Mick.
No, they don't. Hosmer has now overtaken Miguel Cabrera at first base, and I'm sorry, Hosmer's a good player, but come on.
I have a feeling, and it's no disrespect to the Kansas City Royals, it's a fine baseball team, and all those guys are having really good years. But you cannot have 7 guys starting in the All-Star game, can you?
No, you can't. I'm sorry. I mean, there's no rule that says you can't, but And you wonder if it ends up that way, if Major League Baseball will allow it. I mean, I guess they have to, don't they? 2 balls, 1 strike.
And I'm a little biased, obviously, but it's a shame that Miguel Cabrera is not sitting right there at first base right now.
Morales, Perez, Moustakas, Escobar, Gordon, Kane.
Well, only Altuve and Trout. And the only 2 that were on that list that aren't Kansas City Royals.
I wonder if the Royals' first-round draft pick this year will be invited to start.
He might.
2-2 is hit in the air to right field. Ball hit well, but Martinez going back right at the warning track for out number 2. Rizzo is out of there. We'll bring up Chris Bryant. On base twice tonight, reaching on an error and also hit by a pitch, and he scored a run. Swing and a miss, 0-1. 6 runs, 10 hits for the Cubs. Tigers have no runs on 4 hits. They left the bases loaded in the 5th. Big inning tonight, the 4-run 3rd for Chicago. And Bryant looks at a ball outside, 1-1. We were talking about Bryant earlier and the fact that he's 6'5" down in the hot corner at 3rd. He has played some outfield, and you wonder if that's the position he will end up at. And he takes the ball inside, 2-1.
That's a good pitch there by Ryan. You never know where he's going to end up at. We do know he's going to hit in the middle of the order for the next decade.
Here's the 2-1. No, it's 3-1 on Bryant. Here's the 3-1 pitch. Rolled foul, 3-2. Ryan in search of the 1-2-3, 6th inning. He's got Montero waiting on deck. Time called by Bryant. And he lost it. Ball 4, 2-out walk. Bryant's on for the 3rd time tonight. He'll keep it going for Montero, who is 1 for 3, single and a run scored. Cubs are trying to win their 31st game of the season. They came in 2nd place in the National League Central Division behind the St. Louis Cardinals. This is an organization that has not won a World Series since 1908. In fact, they won back-to-back World Series in 07 and 08. In both of those years, they beat the Tigers.
Cardinals are starting to battle a few injuries. Matt Holliday hurt his ankle a couple of days ago, and Lance Lynn is getting his right forearm checked out.
Drilled to center field on a line. Ghost plays it on one hop. Hard hit ball, 2nd hit of the game for Montero.
And so if that injury bug continues to bite the St. Louis Cardinals, this Chicago Cubs team might just be able to close the gap a little bit.
Yeah, they might be finding a window here.
They're on pace to win about 85 games this year.
The last postseason appearance for the Cubs was 2008 when they lost in the NLDS to the Dodgers 3-0. Joe Madden in charge of getting them back to the postseason. So here's Coghlan. 2 on 2 out. We're in the 6th. Slice toward left. Cespedes backing up, turning, and he makes the catch. Ooh, he made that in. Inning over, no runs, a walk, a single, 2 left.
Of the game, Jake Arrieta, he's been one of the best pitchers in the senior circuit for about a calendar year now. He's thrown a couple of double plays, and when he's not throwing double plays, he's striking out batters with that powered curveball. But to get to that curveball, he has featured a mid-90s fastball on occasion. He's gotten all the way up to 96. He's absolutely dealing here tonight.
And there's graphical proof. 5 innings, 4 hits, no runs, 6 strikeouts, 7 groundouts. He goes back to work. And he delivers strike one to Anthony Gose.
Yeah, we showed you a shot of Wally Joyner having a conversation with Anthony Gose on the bench last half inning, and it looked like to me he was discussing with Gose a little bit better balance.
Well, now he's down 0-2 in the count. We're talking about Gose and how hot he was. He was in the 320 range toward the end of May, and it's quickly down to 286 now in the average column. Here's the 0-2. Missed it inside. 1-2. Gose has struck out twice in this game. Anthony to be followed by Kinsler and then Cabrera. Locked at home plate. 2-2 on Gose. Angel Nesbitt is now warming up in the Detroit bullpen, so he'll be coming into the ball game next. The Tigers dipping into the pen tonight because Green went only 3 innings in this one.
That bullpen pretty fresh, though. You know, the last 4 games the Tigers have played, all the starters have pitched into the 7th inning, so and that bullpen has been calmed down a little bit for Brad.
2-2. Gose hanging in there. Arrieta has been really good at Wrigley Field since becoming a Cub, but he's putting on a show here tonight on the road here against the Tigers. He has surrendered 4 hits, no runs. Inside, and Gose now has run it full 3-2.
That's a nice job by Anthony laying off that last slider at 92 miles an hour. It's the same pitch that Arrieta struck him out with back in the 4th inning.
Little chopper, going to be a tough play. Forget about it. Got to get that ball quickly. Gose is aboard with a single. Infield hit for Gose.
Even if Arrieta is able to barehand this ball cleanly, it would have been very, very difficult for him to turn and readjust his body in enough time to throw out the speedy Gose.
Tigers have the leadoff man on for just the 2nd time in this game. Kinsler is 1 for 2, single strikeouts. 5 Tigers hits now. And that's hit the 3rd on a line. Dropped by Bryant, and he's going to have no play. Hard hit ball right at Bryant, diving to his left.
That's great hustle by Ian Kinsler. A lot of times when you hit a ball on the line like that and it appears that the ball has been caught, you stop. He may have paused momentarily, but then he just continued to run, and therefore he was able to get himself a single. Never stopped running.
Well, 2 on now for Cabrera.
And Miggy's a smart enough hitter to know that Arrieta might try to get ahead of him with a fastball, but ultimately he knows with runners in scoring position, Arrieta's going to try to put him away with some kind of a breaking ball, whether it be the slider or whether it be the curveball.
That's it for strike 1.
And there's the bender at 82.
Cabrera has homered against Arrieta in his career. He is 3 for 11 against him. Long ball here slices that deficit in half. 1 ball, 1 strike on Miguel Cabrera. Arrieta now is up to 75. There's his ratio. 5 of the last 7 Tigers have singled, but they do not have any runs to this point. See if Miggy can change that. Rolled foul, 1-2.
And good two-seam fastball with some late run on it, down and in to Miguel Cabrera at 96 miles an hour.
Singles by Ghost and Kinsler. And Miggy waits on a 1-2. Ball high, 2-2. Cespedes waiting on deck. Here are the actives against the Cubs.
It seems like every team we play, and Miguel Cabrera's name is right at the top of the list of doing major damage against that particular team throughout his career. Every team they play.
Swing and a miss. He got him on strikes and a 95-mile-an-hour fastball at the letters.
We're going to make that our Bell Tire pitch by pitch. First pitch is a breaking ball. He puts that thought in Miguel's mind, and then every pitch after that is 95 miles an hour and above, and finally gets Miggy to chase one upstairs in the mid-90s.
And so Arrieta now has 7 strikeouts. That was a big one. But here comes Yoenis Cespedes. He hit a ground ball to third his last time up. Cespedes steps away from a breaking ball strike. Yoenis also has a walk tonight. Missed the outside corner, 1-1. Tigers had a chance, in fact, a couple of chances for a big hit in the 5th when they loaded the bases with 1 out, but Arrieta struck out McCann, or got McCann to fly out, I should say, and then struck out Iglesias. That ended that threat. Here in the 6th, hits by Ghost and Kinsler. Driven in the air to left field. That ball is hit well. That ball is going to go. It's out of here. A home run. Yoenis Cespedes has made it a 6-3 ball game. His 9th of the year. Here's the big hit the Tigers were looking for.
It's a breaking ball at 90 miles an hour, and Yoenis Cespedes, he goes out to get it in. Most of Yoenis's power is right into left center field or down the line in left field. And that's a big, big hit.
Well, it gives the Tigers life. They have responded with a 3 spot here in the 6th inning, and now here's J.D. Martinez. Base is empty with 1 out. And Martinez takes ball 1. 3 runs on 7 hits now for the Tigers. Cespedes picking up RBIs 31, 2, and 3. Bender missing inside, 2-0.
That is the 6th home run that Arrieta has given up to a right-handed batter this year. He's only given up 1 homer to a lefty.
Now time called as Chris Bosio, the pitching coach, comes strolling out. The first sign of trouble for Arrieta as he allows the 3-run shot here in the 6th inning after striking out Cabrera.
You know, Chris Bosio, he threw a no-hitter back in 1993 with the Seattle Mariners.
Well, which leads us nicely into our news and notes. Chris Heston last night threw a no-hitter against the Mets. The first rookie since Clay Buchholz in 2007 to do so.
He hit 3 batters and pitched a no-hitter last night. That's the first time that's ever been done.
Andrew Miller on the DL. 2-0 the count on JD. And a strike call, 2-1.
I don't know what it is with the San Francisco Giants, man, but they've been throwing a lot of no-hitters last 5 years.
Well, they win a lot, too. Bouncing ball to short. Routine there for Castro. 2 gone. Some action now finally in the Cubs bullpen after Arrieta had been so good in terms of his pitch count. Grimm, the right-hander, is tuning up.
A couple of bloops and a blast.
Tyler Collins with 2 outs, a single and a strikeout in this game. Fouled straight back. Good rip there by Collins.
Wally Joyner talking about some of the tendencies of Arrieta in certain situations.
One ball, 1 strike. Tigers fans something finally to cheer about here in the 6th inning on the Cespedes home run. Here's the 1-1. That's drilled toward right center field. That's going to be down to be extra bases. Collins might get a triple out of this. It's going to hit the wall in right center. Collins on his way to third with a triple.
That would be the second career triple for Collins.
Another one came on Sunday against the White Sox.
And Tigers have started to figure him out 3rd time around. A little breaking ball at 87. He's gotten away from that mid-90s heater. Collins went out and ripped it into right center field. And by the time DeNorfia and Fowler got to it, and Collins headed to 3rd base. He made the decision by himself that he was going to get 3 here. He didn't need Dave Clark.
More times than not, when you hit a ball to the wall in that area of the ballpark, it's a 3-bagger. Here is Castellanos. Breaking ball low and in, 1-0 on Nick. All of a sudden the Tigers now have 8 hits. Couldn't hold up. Tigers are 7 for their last 11. The big blow, the home run.
And he was cruising.
He was.
I mean, he was absolutely cruising.
Had a couple of double play balls. Tigers could muster nothing through 4 innings. One and 2 on Nick. Collins at 3rd with 2 outs. Stayed away again, but this time Castellanos would not bite. 2 and 2. Nick 381 this year with 2 outs and men in scoring position. Swing and a miss, struck him out. They'll throw down to first to complete the strikeout. Tigers back in this game, though, thanks to one mighty swing from Cespedes. 3-run shot. They go to 7. Three-run shot by Yoenis Cespedes, who is batting in the fourth spot these days, vacated by Victor Martinez.
And Cespedes doing a very nice job in that number 4 spot. And Victor Martinez with Brad Ausmus, Kevin Rand, and this afternoon watching him take batting practice from the left side. This is the side that gave him some issues before he went on the disabled list. He also went into the outfield, did a little running, a little stretching. Baby steps.
Baby steps is right.
Victor said he was getting up at 4:30 in the morning in Florida to get a workout in. Then he would go back and work out later on in the pool. So he's been working very hard to get himself back on the field.
4:30.
4:30.
How often are you up at 4:30?
Only when we make a trip to the West Coast. And we've been on the East Coast for about a month.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That would be it, buddy.
Wallside Windows pitching change. Angel Nesbitt comes in now for the Tigers.
Nesbitt's been nicked up a little bit lately. And that earned run average has creeped up to 4.22. Power fastball, about 95. Got a nice slider. An occasional two-seamer. Most of his stuff is hard stuff.
Starlin Castro, followed by Baxter and Denorfia. Get back out of play. 0-2. The count stays on Castro.
Every time you read something on the Chicago Cubs, it's talking about the possibility of Starlin Castro being traded. And all this guy has done is hit since he's come to the big leagues. No shortstop since he's come to the majors has more hits than him. Not one shortstop. None of them.
They could say defensive issue.
It could be.
That's fouled back.
And be careful what you wish for, though. I know they're very high on the kid, Addison Russell, and rightfully so.
And you got Javier Baez waiting in the wings, too, an infielder.
But this guy's making all-star teams.
Yeah, made 3 of them. Castro tonight is 0 for 3. Nesbitt trying to keep it right where it is. Right now, 6-3 ball game.
Can't make a mistake here. No balls, 2 strikes.
Bouncing ball, base hit. Castro singles the other way.
You saw the glove of James McCann before the pitch was thrown. McCann has got the glove on the ground. He wants the breaking ball on the ground. He's telling Nesbitt that's where he wants it. Nesbitt leaves it up. And it's enough for Castro to get to it.
Here's Baxter. 2 out of 2 for Baxter. Single double. He's also walked. Cubs this year are wearing the number 14 patch on their jerseys. They've dedicated this season to the great Ernie Banks, who passed away in January. And there's the number 14 of Ernie Banks.
What a tremendous man Ernie Banks was. Fabulous individual.
And his rolled foul.
He always had that smile on his face.
Mr. Cub, Ernie Banks, he made 14 All-Star teams in his 19 seasons in Chicago. That's how good he was.
Never won a championship.
No, but he had back-to-back MVPs. All the All-Star games. That World Series eluded him, though. 1 ball, 1 strike on Baxter. Here comes Cespedes on the run and foul ground. Can't get there. So Baxter is still alive. Denorfia due next. Castro's let off the 7th with a single. Which, by the way, is the 12th hit allowed by Tigers pitching in this game. Nesbitt replacing Ryan, who came on in the 4th inning and pitched through the 6th. Up and in. 2-2 on Baxter. Tigers have another off day tomorrow. It's not very often where you see a team get 2 off days in 1 week. The Tigers had an off day Monday. They'll get another one tomorrow. Then the Indians come in for the weekend. JV will make the start on Saturday against the Tribe. Really looking forward to that, because Verlander obviously a major piece of the puzzle here down the stretch.
Hopefully the Tigers will be 1-0 in that weekend series when Verlander does get the ball on Saturday, because David Price gets the ball on Friday night. Just like he did when he was back in college.
Friday night guy. Here's the 2-2, and it missed.
Where was that?
3-2. Just a touch in. I mean a touch. Another foul back out of play. That series coming up against the Indians, and boy, there's some pretty good pitching going on in that series.
A lot of high octane gas thrown from Salazar, Carrasco, and Kluber. Price and Verlander can get in the mid-90s. Simon can too. I really liked the Simon start 5 days ago against the well, actually it wasn't 5 days ago, but his last start against the White Sox. He had a great fastball Sunday.
And he walked him, and now the Cubs have runners at first and second, nobody out.
Here was that start that Simon had. He had that fastball in the strike zone. He was crisscrossing them in the inside part of the plate to the left-handers, 2-seamers to the right-handers. Didn't need many of those split-fingered fastballs. He was absolutely dealing that day, and he really had to settle in because they took an early lead against Detroit that afternoon.
Well, meanwhile, the Cubs now have 2 on, nobody out. Denorfia coming up. Baxter reaching for the 4th time in this game. Denorfia has singled in a run. He's got a couple of hits in this contest. Bunted, but it's popped up foul. trying to get those runners in his scoring position.
And Denorfia has no sack bunts so far this year.
Nesbitt earlier this year got his first big league win back on May 12th against Minnesota. There's more action in the Tigers bullpen. Lefty Tom Gorzelani. This time he pulled it back and the ball missed. 1 ball, 1 strike.
If you're Nesbitt and you know that Denorfia is up there bunting, you may as well throw the fastball up in the strike zone to see if you can get him to bunt it in the air. If you throw it down, that's a little easier pitch for him to get his job done.
And he does throw it up, but it's popped up. And oh, what a play by McCann! McCann with a sliding play. He runs over to third to make sure nobody advances.
It's a nice job here by Nesbitt. The fastball is up in the strike zone. He did get the pop up, but he needed some help and from his catcher. This is exactly where you want to throw the ball when you know a guy's bunting. Top of the strike zone. He can't get on top of it. Nice court awareness here shown by James McCann. He loses the mask and he stretches out and makes a great play.
And McCann also quickly got to his feet, knowing that his third baseman Castellanos had left his position to try and field that ball, leaving third base open. Great play. 1 out. Here's Addison Russell. Ball 1 inside to Russell. Singled in a run way back in the second in this ball game. That got the Cubs on the board initially. They ran out to a 6-0 lead before Cespedes homered in the 6th. Here's the 1-0. Ball high, 2-0 on Russell. Righties just 177 against Nesbitt this year. But Angel has given up a walk and now he's gone 2-0. That'll get back out of play. 2 balls, 1 strike on Russell. Addison just a couple of years ago in 2012 was the 11th pick overall in the country. Only 21 years old. Trying to deliver an insurance run or 2 here in the 7th inning. Ball high and Russell lays off. 3-1 now. Tigers have won 10 of their last 11 against the Cubs. Tonight Shane Green put the Tigers in a hole early, gave up a 4-run third. They were down 6-0 at one point. Here's the 3-1. And he walked him. That's going to load the bases. Second walk in the inning for Nesbitt. And Brad Ausmus is coming out. So Nesbitt's going to depart here. They want the lefty Gorzelani with Fowler coming up. And we'll step aside. Pitching change. We'll be back. p.m. Eastern on your local Fox affiliate, and catch the whole tournament streaming live on Fox Sports Go. The women defeating Australia 3-1 in their first match. They've got Sweden up next. It's coming up on Friday. In the meantime, Tom Gorzolani will take over out of the Detroit bullpen.
And so far this year, Gorzolani has came into games with 11 runners on base, and he's stranded 8 of the 11.
Well, he's got himself a bases loaded situation here with only 1 out. Nesbitt gave up a single and 2 walks. And was helped up by a great defensive play by the catcher James McCann on that popped up bunt. Here was Dexter Fowler. He tripled in his first at bat. They're loaded up. You've got Castro, you've got Baxter, and you've got Russell on the bases. Fowler looks at a ball high, 1-0.
If you're going to turn a double play with Fowler putting the ball in play, you better hurry. He's got outstanding speed and does not hit in the mini.
Checked it high, 2 balls, no strikes. Ryan, Nesbitt, and Gorzolani out of the Detroit bullpen tonight. Ooh, he missed again, and now the count goes 3-0 with no place to put it. Gorzolani had a long look in there for Clint Fagan. Appeared to be a touch slow. He's taking ball 4, and that's going to force in a run. Gorzolani walks a run in with the bases loaded. It's Castro coming in to make it 7-3.
That is the 4th free pass the Tigers have given to the Chicago Cubs in the last 2 innings.
And that's a tough one because the Tigers had some momentum with the 3-run homer in the 6th.
And you have to face probably their most dangerous hitter, Anthony Rizzo, who's got outstanding numbers against left-handed pitchers.
Rizzo lines one to right field, base hit. Baxter scores. 2 runs will come in as Russell scores as well. And Rizzo, wasting little time, singles in 2.
All 3 of those runs that have scored in this inning are charged to Angel Nesbitt. Little breaking ball right over the heart of the plate. The front side of the body opens up by Anthony Rizzo. Look at the front hit. He opens it up and turns on that breaking ball.
Back up to a 6-run lead again. Albuquerque will be coming in from the bullpen. Brad Austin is making another change. We'll be back. Cubs. Hey, follow the Tigers all season long in 2015 with MLB.com At Bat, the #1 app for live baseball. At Bat is up to the moment at any moment with in-game highlights, live look-ins, replay reviews, radio broadcasts, statcast, and more. Get MLB.com At Bat, smartphone, or your tablet. Here is Al Albuquerque.
Albuquerque has that earned run average down to 3.63, and the reason for that, he's only given up 1 earned run the last 15 times he's been out there.
Well, he's got Fowler at third base. He's got Rizzo at first.
He'll introduce Mr. Bryant to his slider.
And he looks at a strike. Left that one up.
Yeah, that's the best one to hit if you're Chris Bryant.
9-3 Chicago. Still only 1 out in this inning. They've had 13 hits in this game. Here's another one. That one sails inside. 1 ball, 1 strike. Bryant hit by a pitch, and he scored a run in the third. He's also reached on an error and via a walk. Swing and a miss. 1-2. 3 straight breaking balls from Albuquerque. This is the 7th man at bat in the inning. The 1-2. Swing and a miss. Down he goes. 2 gone.
Bryant got 3 breaking balls, and all 3 were up in the strike zone. Not his best slider, but yet he swung through 2 of them.
Now Miguel Montero. A couple hits tonight for Montero, both singles. The Cubs answering the Tigers 3-run 6th with a 3-run 7th. Way high, 1-0. Montero stares at a strike. 1-1. Tigers have had 3 pitchers in this inning, and all 3 runs that have scored charged to Angel Nesbitt. Borzolani faced 2 batters, walked 1 of them with the bases loaded, then gave up the 2-run single to Rizzo. Pulled foul. 1-2 on Montero.
Albuquerque this year has thrown his slider about 64% of the time. He uses a sinker from time to time at about 94, 95. He also throws a 4-seam fastball on occasion, but the overwhelming majority of his pitches are sliders.
It'll get back out of play. Coughlin waiting on deck. He's had a big home run in this game, a 3-run shot. And the 1-2. Ball high. 2 balls, 2 strikes. And Montero. 1 more base runner, and the Cubs will bat around here in the top of the 7th. Driven deep into right field. You can't forget about that one.
Montero was sitting on that 2-2 slider, and he got it at the bottom of the strike zone, and he absolutely killed it.
To say the least, halfway up the seats in right.
And he came into this series struggling.
3-run shot, his 3rd hit of the game, and Cubs have blown it open now, 12-3.
He's sitting on the slider. And normally you wouldn't do that with 2 strikes. You just wouldn't. But he was convinced, and because Albuquerque throws the slider 64% of the time, and he was going to get it, and he didn't miss it. I don't know which ball went further. Was it Coghlan?
Here's Coughlin's, yeah. It might be a push.
They both went halfway up the seats.
There's a strike called on Coghlan. A pair of 3-run homers in this game for Chicago. They have 12 runs on 14 hits. Montero came into this game 1 for his previous 19.
Yeah, he was struggling. I remember you brought that up last night.
He is struggling no longer. Oh, 2 on Coghlan. Cubs have 2 homers, a triple, and a double. The rest are singles. 1-2 on Coghlan. Tiger bullpen getting beaten up here in the 7th inning. 2 of those runs charged to Gorsolani. The 3rd run charged to Albuquerque. Here's the 1-2. Popped him up. Shallow center field. Ghosts coming in. They'll take care of the side, but a 6-run 7th coming up the McLaren Health Plan 7th inning stretch.
And let's take a look at the big boys' big play of the game. And it happened last half, inning. Chris Denorfia, the right fielder, attempting to sacrifice bunt with runners on first and second. An outstanding play turned in by James McCann, who got rid of the mask and was able to find the ball and then get over and stretch out and catch it.
It escalated quickly, as they say. All of a sudden, the Tigers are down big now. Got a new pitcher for the Cubs. That'll be Justin Grimm.
Justin Grimm's got a big arm. His fastball gets up in the mid-90s. He also has a real nice breaking ball. He has punched out 20 so far this year and walked just 7, and the ERA is just a shade over 1.5.
James McCann will get the rest of the night off. Brian Holliday pinch hitting. And Holliday looks at strike one from Grimm.
Yeah, mid-90s fastballs thrown all night by Jake Arrieta, the starter. And now it's Grimm's turn.
Grimm came up as a starter with the Texas Rangers. And he'll miss inside. 1 ball, 1 strike. So Grimm takes over for the starter Arrieta. 6 innings in this game. Gave up the 3-run homer to Cespedes. That's in there for a strike, and it's 1-2 now.
And Grimm's got that fastball in the mid-90s, but he will get up to 97. He's got a power curve, and he's got a slower breaking ball that he throws as well. I don't know about this particular situation with a big lead, but usually he throws a lot of curveballs.
Heater, and it just missed 97.
Yep, he's got that in his back pocket.
He just pulled it out. But he didn't get the call, a little bit high. There's a ground ball to third. That's a fair ball. Bryant across the diamond, one gone. Bring up Iglesias. Oh for 2 for Iglesias. Strikeout, ground out. Both of those at bats against Arrieta. And Jose looks at a strike 0-1. Runs on 14 hits tonight for the Cubs. The Tigers 3 runs on 8 hits. Short 2-game series with an off day tomorrow, and then Cleveland comes to town over the weekend. Back to work against the Central. 1 ball, 2 strikes on Iglesias. Anthony Gose will be next. Now Graham ready with the 1-2. Low, 2 balls, 2 strikes. Graham attended the University of Georgia, where he pitched his college ball. 5th round pick of the Rangers out of Georgia. Chopper back up the middle, looking like a base hit, and it is. As a 1-out single for Iglesias. Well, this Friday, the Tigers welcome the Indians to Comerica Park at 7:08. First 5,000 fans 21 and older receive a Tigers hat. For tickets, visit tigers.com or call 866-66-TIGERS. Now Anthony Gose. Tigers have picked up their 9th hit. Gose sends a ground ball back up the middle. He'll shovel the second one, and a relay is a double play. Tigers have hit in 3 of those tonight. That one goes 6-4-3. Detroit is brought to you by Comerica Bank. Raise your expectations of what a bank can be when it's time. Come to Comerica. If you're Metro Detroit Chevy dealers, visit ChevyDetroit.com. See why Chevy drives the Motor City. Wallside windows, we can do that. We are the factory. And by 5-Hour Energy Shots. Have you tried great tasting 5-Hour Energy lately? Well, we go to the 8th inning here at Comerica Park. All Cubs right now, they lead 12-3 in the final game of the short 2-game series. And Albuquerque back to the hill. Bunch of changes defensively that we'll get to momentarily. It'll be Starlin Castro to get it started. He singled to begin that 7th inning when the Cubs batted around. Castro 1 for 4. That was his only hit. Came around to score a run. Albuquerque missing. 1 ball, 1 strike. Al surrendered the 3-run homer to Montero. Here's the 1-1, and it is in there for the outside corner strike. The count goes 1-2. Here are the changes defensively for your Tigers. Davis is now in left. Wilson is now at second. Romine is now at first, and Holiday remains behind the plate. And a swing and a miss. Castro gone.
And much better breaking ball thrown here by Albuquerque to Castro. Buried down and away.
All of the Tigers changes are straight up if you're keeping a lineup card at home. Here's Baxter. There's a strike to Mike Baxter.
Albuquerque probably could throw a couple of more fastballs here to Baxter, and he might not swing at him.
1 ball, 1 strike. Cubs have scored a season high 12 runs in this game. They are 1 shy of their season high in hits. Every time I say the name Baxter tonight, I think of Ron Burgundy's Dog and Anchorman.
Is that right?
Did you see Anchorman?
Yeah, I did see that.
Here's the 2-1 pitch. That is popped up foul. That'll get back out of play. 2-2 on Baxter.
There's a mascot called Baxter too somewhere. Was it Arizona?
Yeah. This Baxter has walked twice. He's doubled. He's singled. He's scored 3 times. Here's the 2-2. Bounce in all the way to the backstop. 3-2 now on Baxter. Denorfio will be next. Denorfio will not be next. Lake has moved to the on-deck circle instead. There's strike 3 call.
Baxter was up there doing the exact same thing that Montero was doing. He was looking for a breaking ball with 2 strikes, and Albuquerque threw the fastball right down the middle, and he took it.
So with 2 outs, Junior Lake will pinch hit. Started and played in last night's ball game. Lake did not start tonight, obviously. He was 1 for 3 last night, single and a steal. Albuquerque missing high, 1-0.
And Junior was also cut down at the plate on an outstanding throw by Yoenis Cespedes.
Blake looks at a strike on the outer edge. 1 ball, 2 strikes. He went right back out there, but he missed that time. 2-2. Is Blaine Hardy warming up in the Detroit bullpen. And again, if you tuned in late, Tigers had to go their bullpen early tonight. There's a wave and a miss. Down he goes. And a strikeout of Blake. Albuquerque strikes out the side as we go to the bottom of the 8th. They lead 12-3. Shane Green lasted 3, giving up 7 hits, 5 earned runs before he gave way to the Tigers bullpen. 3-run homers tonight for Coughlin, Montero, and Cespedes of the Tigers. 14 hits for Chicago. Now as we go to the bottom of the 8th, we've got a new pitcher. That'll be Zach Roskup.
And Roskup has just 2 pitches. He's got a fastball that he throws 69% of the time. That gets up to about 94 miles an hour. And he has a slider that he throws 31% of the time. The batting average and for Roskup against the slider is just 148. So it's a good pitch for him.
Junior Lake stays in the game and plays right field. Wilson will get his first at bat of the ball game. Swing and a miss. Wilson, then Romine, and then Rajay Davis. As we play here in the bottom of the 8th. The 0-1. Roskup missing low. 1 ball and 1 strike.
Yeah, Roskup working out of the stretch with a very slow, deliberate leg kick. And then finally, after he gets to a nice balanced position, he speeds up everything.
1-2. Roskup has had brief time in the big leagues each of the last 2 years with the Cubs. Broke in 2009 in the minor leagues. That one darts low and in. 2 balls, 2 strikes on Josh Wilson. Swing and a miss. Wilson goes down. They'll have to throw down to complete the strikeout, and they do. 1 away here in the 8th. Bring of Andrew Romine. His first at bat, he took over defensively for Miguel Cabrera last half inning. Brad Ausmus using this opportunity in the blowout game here, 12-3, to get some of his veterans off their feet for the rest of the night. Miggy was 0 for 3 before departing, and that means his streak's going to come to an end tonight in 27 consecutive games of reaching. Romine takes a hack, and now he's down to the count 0-2. Here's the 0-2 pitch. Bouncing ball to second. Russell to his left. 2 gone.
Here's our Menards big money encounter. Yoenis Cespedes, the last time he was up, he got himself a either cut fastball or slider at 91 miles an hour, hit a 3-run home run into the Chicago Cubs bullpen.
Rajay Davis will get his first at bat.
Rajay had a great game last night. He was 2 for 5 with a double, a triple, and an outstanding catch that took a home run away from last night's catcher, David Ross.
A couple of extra base hits, doubled and scored in the first, tripled and scored in the fifth last night. Davis continues to find a way to get it done once he gets his opportunities, although he's not played every day. Here's the 0-1. Ross Cup missing high. 1 ball, 1 strike. Two and 1. The big inning tonight, the 6-run 7th, after the Tigers had come back from a 6-0 deficit. They made it 6-3, but then that bullpen gave up 6 big ones in the 7th inning and made it 12-3. Rajay takes a ball low, and he goes up in the count 3-1. Shane Green still hanging out in the dugout despite his early departure tonight. Pulled towards short, and it's going to get by Castro into left.
That'll be a base hit for Rajay Davis. Here's our high-speed pitch, and it is brought to you by Xfinity. And Jake Arrieta, he was absolutely dealing here tonight for 6 innings. The only blemish of the 3-run home run that Yoenis Cespedes touched him up on. His fastball got up to 90-70. He did that a couple of times, but it was that breaking ball and that cut fastball and that slider that allowed him to maneuver his way through this Tigers order.
So the Tigers have double digits now with 10 hits as Martinez stands in. JD has 1 of those. He's 1 for 3. Fouled back out of play, right field line, 0-1. Martinez now has a 6-game hitting streak. He's got a couple of hits in this series. Here's the 0-1. 0-2 on JD. Here's the 0-2. 1 ball, 2 strikes on Martinez.
And pretty much all hard stuff thrown by Ross Cup. Fastballs at 94, the slider at 88. And not a lot of speed differential in between the 2 pitches.
2-2 on J.D. Martinez. Yank foul. Roskup ready with the 2-2. Another foul back out of play. Attendance here tonight better than 33,000. 3,397 to wrap up the series against the Cubs.
And Tigers just missed drawing 3 million fans last year.
Missed it low, 3-2. Collins would be next if Martinez were to reach here. Davis is going to be off with the pitch with 2 outs.
If JD gets a fastball here, he might just barrel it up and find a gap somewhere. He has seen several fastballs already thrown at 94 by Roskup.
Wastes that one back out of play. Tigers came into play tonight trailing the first place Royals by 3.5. We'll get an update on their game when we get to the 9th inning. Here it's all Cubs 12-3. Another foul by JD. This is a 9-pitch at bat right now for Martinez. And again the 3-2 swing and a miss, and he finally got Martinez. No runs, a hit, 1 left. To the 9th we go. He comes in now. He'll pitch the 9th inning out of the Tigers bullpen.
And Hardy, pitching in his 24th game this year, has a very good earned run average. It's sitting at 2.74. And 17 strikeouts, 9 base on balls for Hardy. Fastball, cut fastball, sinker, and a good breaking ball.
Addison Russell will start things off for the Cubs. It's all Chicago tonight, 12-3. First pitch is fouled back out of play. Tigers out of the bullpen tonight have gone with Kyle Ryan. He came on in the 4th inning. Then they brought in Nesbitt and Gorzolani, Albuquerque, and Hardy. There's a ball outside. That was the 180th pitch by the Tigers staff tonight. One of those nights they've given up 12 runs on 14 hits. One and two to count. Travis Wood warming up. Here's the 1-2. Checked it. Did he go? Negative, says Hunter Wendelstedt. 2-2 on Addison Russell. Ooh, that was close. About as far as you can go without getting rung up. And now he's rung up.
Well, just like we promised you earlier in the game, it's Miller time, and it is brought to you by Miller Lite. The Chicago Cubs have 12 runs on the board already here tonight, and on two swings, one by Chris Coghlan, the other by Miguel Montero. 3-run home runs by both gentlemen. Montero's put the game out of reach.
Tiger bullpen now with 4 consecutive strikeouts. There's Dexter Fowler. He'll drive one to left center field. That's going to get down. Rajay over to cut it off. Fowler on his way to second. He's going to be in play. Fowler is going to be out by about a mile and a half.
And Fowler was running with his head down. Thought that ball was going to get to the gap. He forgot Rajay Davis in center field has really good speed. Nice play by Rajay, able to get there, turn around, fire a strike back into the infield. Tag applied to Fowler, who was running with his head down.
2 gone. That'll bring up Rizzo. An assist for Rajay Davis. Rizzo looks at a strike.
You don't want to throw Rizzo that little breaking ball that lands right over the heart of the plate. So he's sitting on it. He opens up his hips very well because he stands right on top of the plate. Uh-oh.
High, towering fly ball to right center field.
Ooh, just missed.
And caught by Ghost. So we go to the bottom of the ninth. In favor of the Cubs here this evening. Now with a preview of what's coming up on Tigers Live, Johnny Kane.
Well, thank you, Maury. We'll have plenty to talk about. Certainly we'll talk with Shane Green about his most recent outing, and then hear from Brad Ausmus about what the future holds for him. Also, we'll talk to Yoenis Cespedes about his 9th home run of the season. Certainly we'll get you caught up on some scores and highlights from around the Central Division. And the guys holding it down back in the Coliseum Studios, Mickey York, and Craig Monroe. They'll anchor it down, but I'll bring you plenty of coverage from inside the Royals clubhouse. We'll send it back to you, Mario. Rod.
All right, Johnny, thanks very much. We definitely look forward to it. Here's Tyler Collins to start things off.
And here's our call of the game. Tyler Collins has done nice work when Brad Ausmus has called upon him. As a matter of fact, he has hit safely in 6 of his last 7 games. Good for a .375 batting average.
We've got a new pitcher now. It's the left-hander Travis Wood.
He started 7 games this year for the Cubs, which means he's got a 4-pitch mix. He's got the fastball, he's got the 2-seamer, he's got a changeup, slider, and a cutter. Throws quite a few cutters.
One ball, one strike on Collins. Travis Wood, born in Little Rock, Arkansas, lives in Alexander, Arkansas. Another big swing there by Tyler. The count is 1-2.
That's where the former president is from, Bill Clinton. Little Rock.
Yeah.
I've got some people in Hope, Arkansas, not too far from Little Rock.
The 1-2 off the end of the bat. Now, was Hope a small town?
Real small town. I had to fly into Little Rock. Dad was born there. Still have some aunts and uncles that live there.
So there is no Hope International Airport, is what you're telling me.
Negative.
Ooh, did he go?
And if it was, you'd have to get on one of them crop dusters, and I'm not for that.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Those can be fun to fly in the wintertime.
Not at all.
The 2-2 now is swung on and missed. 1 out here in the 9th.
Every guy that has trotted out of the bullpen tonight for Joe Madden has been 94 and above. We saw Grimm, we saw Ross Cup, and now Wood. That last fastball that punched out Collins was at 94, and their starter Arrieta, he was mid-90s all the way up to 97 here tonight.
Here's Castellanos. He'll take a rip at the first and fly it out there to Fowler in center. And there are 2 gone. Well, the Tigers down to their final out. Ryan Holiday will step in. Holiday came on defensively and has had 1 at bat in this game. He grounded out his only time up. Ball 1 from Wood. Two balls, no strikes. High fly ball left field. That one's hit pretty good. Gonna die in that wind out there though, and that is that for the Tigers. They go 1-2-3 in the 9th inning, and the Cubs leave town with a split as they beat the Tigers tonight 12-3. They'll be back